and welcome to episode 5 of our podcast, Perform Beyond, with me, Louise Brogan, and the team from VPS. Today, I am joined by the lovely Amanda and Maureen, who will be continuing our discussion around the design of the training that we have for clients. If you have not yet listened to our training needs analysis episode, do go back and listen to that first, and then come back to us and listen to both together. Ladies, welcome to the podcast. If you would take a moment to introduce yourselves and let us know a little bit about you, what you do and your role at VPS, that would be wonderful. Starting with yourself, Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda Downs. I'm instructional designer and also project manager. So I start at the beginning of the process, designing the learning, but also manage the whole process as well.
Excellent. And Maureen?
Hi, I'm Maureen Owens and I'm the learning manager, working very closely with Amanda within financial services with one of our financial services clients.
Lovely. So ladies, one of the things we wanted to discuss was how do you actually make your training content engaging for clients? Because we know that people listening, they're listening to this podcast because A, they're interested in learning development and training, and B, they may be thinking, well, this all sounds great. How do we get involved? Well, how does it actually work? So could you talk to me a little bit about, once you know the training requirements for your client, what happens next? How do you take it forward?
Suppose that kind of happens in two ways. So we would have our small updates and then we'd have our new developments. And Amanda, I'll ask you in a second because you know more about the detail about how we make them engaging. But we'd have the small updates, which would be my text changes. So there might be a change in a regulation. So we'd mentioned again previously that a regulation year might change, or there might be a change of code and we'd have to put in a new piece of text, or we might just affect with some basic images. But then on the other hand, we would have things that need to be really engaging, because I think we've all been through those courses where you just click, click, click. That's the last thing we want to do. But in Amanda's space, Amanda, this is where you come in and you take your experience and you make them engaging and exciting for everybody, not just yourselves when you're designing them, but also for the ultimate end learner.
Yeah, so we'll take so every, if it's an update, we may change the graphics. We may, for instance, if we've got any activities. So Maureen, we've got in the health and safety course, we've got hazards. So a learner will have to spot the hazards, and every year we actually add new hazards that may a real life sort of hazard that may have occurred in the business, and it just keeps the learner on top of what can happen in an office. I think Maureen, do you go through the hazards?
Amanda, every year, my God, I can spend 10 minutes looking at that one slide going, where's the hazard? You think you have them, but it's so engaging because you have to actually identify. So of course, it's an image and you have to click and identify what the hazard is. You think you have them all and then you go, no, I'm missing one.
Even when we're testing
it. You really test me, honest to God, you really test me as well. But it makes you stop and think, you know what? I shouldn't leave, the water tap running because it could overflow, and it's those kind of things that are in the day-to-day business that people have to make sure they're aware of.
We're working on at the moment. We'll just make sure that, that we enhance the graphics, update the graphics, maybe put some animations in. So if it's a course that's done year after year, we make sure that, we will enhance it. So the learner's not thinking, this course again. The questions change, the activities get updated.
Yeah.
So we just make sure that it's fresh every year for the learner.
Do you do anything, ladies, around awards and results orientated training? So I used to work in the health service, and we had to do this mandatory training every year, of course. And I don't remember anyone giving me an award. Is that something that you include?
We do. I suppose all of our courses that we look at, Louise, we'll always think about what's relevant, what awarding bodies can we submit them in. So on behalf of our client, we would submit various different learnings and training courses for an awards. So there's various things on graduation programs or graduate programs. We would have course like health and safety is one. We would have various different course topics that we would enter into the HR Champion Awards, the CIPD Awards, the Brandon Hall Awards, various different awarding bodies that we would act on behalf of our client and submit on their behalf. And to be fair, we've been very successful over the last number of years in winning awards with various different bodies, from our online training courses to our in-person or virtual training deliveries that we've actually done as well. So we've been very successful with the particular financial services client that we're talking about at the moment.
Can I just say, because I work with you on a wider remit, that you can, if anyone wants to go and check out our LinkedIn company page, you can see all the amazing awards that this team have won. It's very impressive. I highly recommend you just take a moment, pop over to LinkedIn, follow our company page, VPS, on LinkedIn, and check out all the awards these guys have won. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so one of the things, Amanda, that is really important is thinking about inclusion and diversity. So because just to remind everybody, you are the you're a designer, head instructional designer here in this team.
Yeah.
And how do you think about inclusion and diversity when you are creating the training content?
Well, we look at names of people. We have a lot of scenarios and user stories in our courses. So we look at the names that we're using of people to make sure we've got a wide range of from different countries, etc. Also with our images, so we look at the images, we just make sure we've got a balance of different sort of race, if there's any disabilities, that so we just make sure that all of our images are balanced, and everybody feels included in the courses that they do. We also have some accessible users, some blind users. So again, names of people as well. Just making sure that, say, everybody, whether they're doing the standard course or the accessible course. So yeah, that is something the instructional design, if we're, say, doing a new course, then we would make sure that that's included. But also when we're updating the courses, we'll just keep looking at all of that information to make sure it's up to date, and if there's anything that we can use to enhance it, we will.
I have a question about that, actually. I'm very interested in the accessibility for special audiences. One of the members of my own team is deaf and has educated me greatly on, things to consider. So, for example, on any team meetings, we would have captions during our calls online. So what way do you make the training content accessible for special audiences? What things do you have to consider?
Yeah, so when we go through and with most of our courses, we will create a separate accessible version, because our courses have a lot of interactions in. For instance, we talked about the health and safety, the hazards. So it's difficult to click on to obviously all the sort of the hazards. So we will actually just sort of design the course, but we'll still add the hazards in as such, but there'll be more questions.
Yes.
Rather than, so they're still included. So we go through, have a look, all the content is still there, but we just change it into an accessible version. With courses where we have a lot of courses with videos, etc., we have transcripts, we have captions, so we work closely to make sure that the transcripts are there, the captions are there, so that it can be. Also with regards to the colours of our templates that we use, etc., we make sure that they're sort of clean, fresh, easy for people to work with as well. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's something that's always in the forefront of our design.
That's excellent. Yeah, I love that, Amanda. It's it's really, you're really thinking about all of the end users. And One of the things I wanted to ask you about actually was, because I know that the majority of your clients are large corporates, so maybe they have like 10,000 members of staff, but these companies often will acquire smaller companies. So could you talk to me about what happens if a larger organization that you're working with acquires a smaller organization? What does that look like in terms of changing the content? Do you just send out the same content across the new members of staff in the new area, or does it have to be adapted? Could you talk me a little bit through that?
Yeah, it can be two ways. So it might be a course that will be for everybody. So it will be just updated to include, the extra the information that's relevant to that particular company, if we can incorporate it. Sometimes if the information has changed quite a bit, then what we can do is take a course and then almost create a copy of it and customize it for that particular company. So if they use different terminology, we can change that easily. We also give them their own branding. We can use the logos, their own color scheme. So it just makes it more personal to them. And it doesn't incorporate really a great deal of work, because it's just something that they may have their own, sort of questions that they want to add in on the assessment side. So we can really tailor it to their needs.
I think anyone listening is going to be thinking, this is why you hire experts to work with.
I think we want to give the learner an experience that we're talking directly to them. That's how we perceive it and what our aim is.
And as the learning curriculum manager, or the learning manager, Maureen, so say that there is a new arm of the business coming in on board, at what stage do you get involved? If your client is acquiring, maybe like 500 new staff through an acquisition, at what stage do you get involved with that, in the discussions? Because I know you have really good relationships with your clients. Can you talk a little bit about that?
We do, Louise. Relationships is what we build our foundations on, really. Yeah. No matter what client we're working with in VPS, relationships are key. If the company is onboarding a new arm, effectively, I suppose we stand back a fair bit, because it's really important for that new arm to actually settle into the business, to get familiar with what's going on, to adapt and customize themselves to their new parent company as such. But then once they've settled in and they've ironed out the T's and C's and everything that goes with it, then we engage with the client, and then we'll engage to see, well, what are their training needs? Because their needs will be slightly different. So they will be adopting policies from the parent company, but they will also have policies and procedures on their own side that they will need to keep and maintain. So we would actually engage with that person, and we would talk to them to explain, I suppose, the offering that we have. And one of the key things that we actually have is we have bespoke training, or we can buy content off the shelf. And it's having that conversation, particularly with a new arm of the business, to see what's the benefit to them. To say, like, one of the big benefits and advantages of bespoke training is, like Amanda said, we can adapt it and customize it to suit a new arm of the business. But then there's also a pro to take content from an existing provider that's there, generic enough, but at the same time can fill a gap until such time as people find their feet and fully understand what their learning needs are.
Excellent. So what I'm hearing really, ladies, is how adaptable you are, and how much you work with your clients, which is, of course, what everybody wants.
Yeah.
So we are going to wrap up today's episode, and I'm looking forward to our next episode, where we're going to talk about how do we balance new trends and established practices. And also we're going to talk a little bit about your relationship with industry bodies. So ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. Do subscribe to the podcast. Let us know your thoughts, guys. If you have any questions about the topics we are discussing, do reach out to us through the VPS LinkedIn company page. And there will also be contact information in the show notes below. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thanks, Amanda and Maureen.
Thanks, Louise.
Thank you.